Albert Veksler, thanks for joining us here in Jerusalem Dateline. You're the director of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. For those people that may not know it, what is the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast?
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Well, Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, as you well know, because you were there at the very beginning, is a movement to basically mobilize the church to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Because the Bible says so clearly that those who love Jerusalem and pray for the peace of Jerusalem will prosper. And we've seen it happen all over the world. When we began, it was by the endorsement of President Reuven Rivlin, the initiative that I gave to Robert Ilatov, that he carried on through the whole Knesset, talking to all the Knesset members, basically brought us on the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem to the Knesset, to the President's residence, to mobilize the church, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And then we, for our great surprise, were kind of taken all over the world.
Yeah.
So we've had now 15 breakfasts outside of Jerusalem.
Yeah. So it started in 2017 on the 50th anniversary. Where have you gone since then?
Well, it's been interesting to see how God has taken us, because as the calling to pray went out from the Knesset, it had to be also answered by the politicians, Christian politicians, worldwide. So it was the First Lady of Uganda, or Senator Erika Betts from Australia, or Eppa Branch, the Dutch politician, who brought us to all of these different parliaments. And so this year had great events in Tallinn, in the very parliament building of Estonia, and just recently in Dallas, Texas, hosted by Senator Ted Cruz and Governor Abbott.
Two questions, Albert. Why is it so important to be now standing with Israel for this particular time in its history, and what do you have coming up here in Jerusalem?
There is always a need to stand with Israel, because there's a calling for the church to stand as watchmen on the walls of Jerusalem. There is a calling to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and there is a calling to stand up for the seed of Abraham. Why? Because there is also constant attack and constant attempts to destroy the Jewish people and the state of Israel. And that's why I believe that it is God-given calling for the church and for individual believers to stand up and stand in the gap for Jerusalem, for God's purposes in this time.
So final question, what can people do? How can people join the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast? You have one coming up, I believe, June 1 and 2 here in Jerusalem. If they're local, how can they join? And if they're around the world, what can they do?
People can still pack their bags, get their passports, and come. Israel is open. And so you can join us in the Knesset and here in Jerusalem as we will gather. But also online option is available, so people can go to our website and find us on the internet. It's easy to Google today Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast and just register at the online attendance option and join us, because it's going to be exciting.
Well, if you can, please join the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast online, or even here in Jerusalem in person.